Hi, people. Welcome. This is Andy of Andy's Personal Development, and we are currently live in the breakout room. This is the third episode of season 4 of the breakout room, and we welcome you all. And we hope that this episode will bring you all the tools that you need to get to acquire our three watchwords: health, happiness, and prosperity. Today, we have a special guest lined up for you in the breakout room. He is a trained alchemist, trainer coach, and the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. So, let's introduce our guest live in the breakout room, the man of the moment, John Hernandez.
Thank you.
Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing great. And yourself?
Wonderful. Thank you for asking. So good to have you live with us in the breakout room. So, John, I'm really excited about this program. I'm looking forward to hearing some amazing stuff about
Mhm.
what you're doing. And I want to share something with you that you said.
Sure.
The question that you ask is, who am I? And then you said, first and foremost, I am passionate about facilitating someone on their journey to their fullest potential. And this is the part that thrills me. It truly feeds my soul. Share that with us. It sounds so virtuous.
Yes. Well, it is. I mean, at this point in my life, I'm really looking at, who comes next. I've stood on a lot of shoulders of those that have come before me and that have trained and mentored me, and those that are long gone that have mentored me that don't know. And now it's time to move that forward in my life. So I'm moving from one thing in alchemy to another thing. That's what we do in alchemy. We move from one state to another state. And so at this point in my life, I'm really focusing a lot of the work on teaching and coaching and mentoring those next folks that'll be there after I'm long gone to move themselves forward and to create the life that they want. And that
Yeah.
does warm my soul.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thanks for sharing, John. So, for the purpose of understanding what you do, how does one become an alchemist? What does it take? What is required for us to know what one needs to do to achieve the position, the post, or the requirement necessary for one to become an alchemist?
There's there's a famous author and mythologist, anthropologist, uh, Joseph Campbell,
Mm-hmm.
and many of you may know him. But he talks about the call, which is something that piques an interest. Maybe I don't know how else to put it, and there might be a call. There might be something more, and I'm not sure what that more is or what the possibilities are. But that's the first step. Hearing a call to go a little to find out what's behind the veil, so to speak. And so that's the first thing. And that call might be, hey, there's something. Well, my life is great. I don't really need anything else, but maybe there's something more. Maybe okay, I want to work on my health or you know work on my joy. There's a big piece that most don't work on, or whatever, or maybe a spiritual path. And so, even though my life is going great, there might be something more out there. If
All
there
right.
are challenges in my life, then what's in my way? What can I move through?
Yeah.
And that's where alchemy really comes in. Or what I do is I take that very ancient art and science and I move it into a contemporary way
Right.
so that folks can adjust their internal landscape to create the life that they want. So you don't need to be trained as an
Okay.
alchemist to do that. That's what I'm here for, is to help give you the tool set without going into a long, involved historical context and philosophical and
Yeah.
doing all that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to do that as well. I love doing that, but that's not necessary to to achieve those pieces in your life that you might want.
Yeah. And so, what kind of mindset does it take, John? Or how can one come to a place where they can observe these basic principles and apply them to their lives? We have so many challenges today that we are faced with. How can someone use all that you have spoken about, get that mindset so that they can attain that extra edge, know something more about what they don't know to help them have a better lifestyle?
That's a great question. Two words: fierce curiosity.
All right.
That's the
All right.
first. That's the first requirement. Um, Something that, again, that want, that there's an internal want, that there's something different that might be out there, and
Mm-hmm.
what that is and how it can help me or those that are seeking. That's
Uh-huh.
the real key. So fierce curiosity is the first mindset to have. Be curious about yourself, what might be possible. And then the second thing is take a risk. Take a
Yeah.
risk, really looking deep. One of the tenets in alchemy is going deep, seeing what you find there, and rectifying it. And that uncovers the mystery of what we call the philosopher's stone, or the mystery of who you really are that lies deep down inside. Once that is achieved, then it's a constant work of reminding and being in touch with that. And that's what will drive you to create the life that you want.
Yeah. Great. Thanks for sharing. Sounds really interesting. So, how did you manage to get involved in the audio visual industry? What was that like for you, John?
Oh, there's a long question. So I don't know if you can kind of see behind me. There's a drum.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm a,
yeah.
I'm a professional drummer as
Right.
well as everything else, and I've been
Okay.
that way for all my life, basically. And I
Wow.
realized at a very uh, young, impressionable age in my 20s that it probably wasn't going to make a living doing that. So
Okay.
what I did is I created a life that was intertwined with music. And
Mm-hmm.
so all my professional life, I've been working in industries that are intertwined with music. And now I've had my own company now for the last 12 years that that works on all stages of that, from
Yeah.
large, venue PA systems, for concerts, to boardrooms, to everything that has to do with reproducing audio, and then now visual is a big piece too. So
Wow.
that's how I got into it, because I wanted to stay connected to my music roots.
Okay, great. Thanks for sharing, John. So, you have been an entrepreneur and you built a multi-million-dollar corporation. What are some of the challenges that you face along the way while building these corporations? I think people need to know that
Yep.
every step that you take will have challenges, but
Yep.
then you probably have found a way to overcome them. And as a result, you became successful. But it would have cost you some resources, some time, some learning, some understanding of what the process was like. What are some of the challenges that you face that now helps you to help others achieve the success that you did?
Sure. Well, one of the costs was my hair. I had a full head of hair when I started.
Natural, natural.
So um, the challenges were, do I have what it takes to do it? Will
Mm.
anybody believe in my vision?
Hmm.
Will I believe in my vision?
Right,
Um, will I give up the first time a major roadblock hits? I like
right.
I like to tell folks that I've had epic successes and biblical level failures
Wow.
along the way. And
Right.
and guess what? It's not a linear path. In other words, yes, I started, my business partner and I started from nothing, literally, grabbing anything we could to sell, to now where we are with this company with 8 states and multiple reps all over the place, and
Hmm.
and that. Um, but it's not linear. It's not like, okay, we did this, we did this, we
Yeah.
did this, and
Yeah.
now we hit this level of success. Now we're building. No, you know,
Mm-hmm.
2 steps forward, 4 steps back, and then another 3 steps forward and another step back, and then maybe 6 steps forward and another 3 steps back. So it's and we talked about alchemy a little bit, and part
Yeah.
of that is we know, or I know, that the path is never always ascending. It'll ascend and then it'll plateau. Then sometimes it goes down. But actually, it will always continue to rise up if I continue to do the work, if I don't let those biblical level failures knock me off my game,
Mm-hmm.
or prevent me from taking new risks or new challenges. And that's really the key. And so having the internal landscape to work through that, because you can't go around any of this stuff,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
work through it is really critical. And I'll finish with this on this long answer to your question. In alchemy, we're taught to harmonize or balance the 3, what we call the 3 levels of reality: physical, emotional, and spiritual.
Yeah.
And so physical means, you know, eating as right as possible, you know, taking care of your body, your physical world, and that also can mean your financial health and how you are in the world with finances. So all those things: health, finances, community, those are physical. Psychological world, that's the bridge between the spiritual and the physical. And a lot of times the psychological world feeds the physical or
Mm-hmm.
can impact the physical in
Yeah.
not such a great way. So keeping the mind open, keeping the mind curious about continuing to do the work. Then the spiritual is the easiest and hardest of all. It is to remain open to possibilities. It's the easiest, and yet it's the hardest. Because when I get an inspiration, um, is it a fantasy? Is it a daydream? Or is it something that I can work with? So it's
Yeah.
working
Yeah.
with all these things all the time. And that's why it's called the great work, because it's ongoing. It's not necessarily easy, but it can be fun along the way as well.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Sharon, for sharing that, John. Are there any individuals or group of people that you are currently mentoring? I know that you're probably thinking about the future, continuity, that kind of stuff. Are there any specific individuals or group of people that you're saying, I see some potential in this person or these guys or this group of people, and I want to share what I've learned and accomplished with them so that at least from that perspective, it can continue and
Mm-hmm.
grow and develop?
Yes. And planting those seeds with those folks, I have actually quite a few. I work in very different, in multiple different modalities, and to watch them really come into their own sense of internal presence and power,
Yeah.
and create things that I, you know, it's surpasses what I've done. That's
Right.
my biggest key of success.
Right.
If I can somehow excuse me, help them realize the life they want, their dream, um, and they surpass everything I've done, that's, I love it. And along the way, I'm
Yeah.
learning from them too.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Right.
it's not a one-way street. It's not like I'm carrying the wisdom of the universe. I'm
Uh-huh.
opening up tools and pathways. And then as we do the work, I'm learning just as much from them than they are from me. And it's really that synchronicity that's a real beautiful dance.
Yeah. Sounds like you're truly feeding your soul, John. I love it.
I am. It
We
took
have
me a
it.
while, you know,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
yeah, no.
yeah. We have a thumbs up. Somebody likes that from the comment section. We appreciate that. So, in terms of a young individual now, let's just say,
Mhm,
considering all the challenges that we are faced with economically, socially, even politically, but we don't want to go down that road.
No.
Let's just imagine that a young individual, a young entrepreneur wants to start business and they need guidance. They need to be told, okay, this is the tools that you need to have, this is the resources that you need to have. But as you said, internally, there must be some sense of awareness, some sense of consciousness. How do you guide them in a manner in which they can then say, okay, I get it, I can apply, and even if it doesn't turn out the way that they expect it to be, at least they would have given themselves the opportunity, the chance to do something that they believe in. How would
Mhm.
you guide them, John?
Well, that's another good question. Um, so, what I know about my daughter's generation, she's in her early 30s now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
those that are the next generation after her, all of a sudden, um, and those that are in my generation, is that a lot of this has to do with going from point A to point B, and point B could be, okay, I have a business system, and this business system is well laid out, and I have all the tools I need to start creating the business. But what do I do to get from here to here? And it's like, oh, well, I'm not thinking about that, or
Hmm.
that's not important. Only the logistics piece of it is important.
All right.
Well, this is where I think I can come in and really facilitate, because the logistics are one thing, but having the internal landscape to move to that point and to move through that point is really the critical part. So I think what I see with a lot of young folks is they haven't been exposed to this type of work yet, um, for various reasons. It's not really taught in school, at least that I know.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Skill sets like that are just not taught, and they used to be taught in the old school.
Mm.
It was very much talked about the concept of know thyself,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is code word for doing this internal work. And it's not this deep internal, heavy duty thing. And like I said, it can be fun. Um, there's a lot of imagery that I use in the work that
Right.
stimulates that connection to the subconscious. Excuse me. And from there, all things are possible.
Okay.
So why do I use imagery? That might be another question. Um, Imagery is critical in alchemy. If anybody's ever looked up alchemy anywhere online and see all these bizarre images, there's
Mm.
lots of images that alchemists use as kind of a code word for other alchemists to read into it. They can decipher
Okay.
these images, but more importantly, a picture's worth 1,000 words. And we
Yes.
know we know from research that imagery connects with the subconscious instantly. Whereas, if you shut this podcast off when we're completed with it, and in 2 days from now, or maybe in 20 minutes from now, you might forget
Yeah.
85% of everything I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if
I
I
get it.
pull up an image after we worked with that image, immediately there's an emotional charge, a connection, and that brings then an adjustment in your behavior. And that's what helps create then all the logistical pieces for business and all the other parts of it, the accounting parts, and all those other things,
Mm.
working and training your team, which is
Yeah.
a critical part of the work that we do. So all those things. So I'm at the beginning of the step is kind of where I like
Okay.
to be.
Okay.
Yeah. And other coaches are at different levels. And there's so many great coaches out there that have business systems that are far beyond what I've done. And
Right.
so great. You work with them too. Work with me to get to that point. And as a team, it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, John. So, folks, the theme for this particular episode is leadership, emotional intelligence, and abundance with John Hernandez. He has been tremendously successful as an alchemist, a trainer, coach, and CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. We know, John, that there are many byproducts of success that people seek before the success even comes sometimes. And this can cause them to lose their way virtuously. The question I want to ask you is, how did you manage to keep your inner values and at the same time achieve the level of success that you did? Because your innermost personal values may not necessarily have to line up with the external success that you have in life. And we can brainstorm success or brand it in any different form or fashion. But I do know what most people understand is that the house, the cars, the traveling, the vacation, the extra zeros in your bank account, the extra time you might have, those are just byproducts.
That's right.
Success starts with you first as the individual internally. How did you manage to keep your internal values intact and at the same time put some values out there to achieve the success that you did?
Well, this goes back to the very first thing I said, fierce curiosity. So that
Mm-hmm.
level of fierce curiosity, I look in the mirror
Uh-huh.
and and I and I work with those pieces of me, A, that I'm aware of that are in my way, and B, I keep uncovering things that I may not be aware of yet.
Okay.
Or I work with others that can see things that I can't see.
Right.
And then I don't push them aside. I don't
Mm-hmm.
deny them anymore. I say,
Yeah.
okay, that's part of my internal landscape. So now what do I do? And that's when I
Mm.
get to work with those individual pieces. And those are very much in line with how I work in the company, how I treat my
Yeah.
business partner. You know,
Right.
most partnerships fail after a few years. You
Wow.
know,
Yeah.
there's infighting, there's all this. My business partner and I are as strong now 12 years later as we were when we started. We talk on the
Mm.
phone probably 20 times a day.
Right.
Constantly working together to move the company forward. And this is really part of it because we're doing the work internally and
Mm-hmm.
together. And the same way that I treat those that work with me,
Right.
same
Yeah.
thing, or those that I'm mentoring. You know, we're constantly working this edge together. You know,
Okay.
where are we? Where are our values?
All
You know,
right.
how are we in the world? Are we truly authentic to ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
That's the big key because a lot of times in this work, what we'll find as you work with me that you may have various masks that you wear in the
Okay.
world. I
Yeah.
have a mask that I wear at work. I have a mask that I wear in my relationship. I have a mask
Wow.
that I wear in my community. What
Mm.
what's underneath that? What's
Uh,
below and before that mask?
Right.
That's what I'm
Right.
interested in working with. And the
Okay.
soon as you start removing those masks, the more of that personal success that doesn't have to do with money, although that's
Mm-hmm.
a byproduct of it,
Yeah.
um, can have.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that because as you speak about working with people, I'm just going to read something that I find very interesting. And this person says, John has taken me through many a challenge, worry, frustration. And in each case, he facilitated a lens of clarity for me to see that this was actually an opportunity, a force for grounding and resetting to what is needed in the moment. Katrina Markov.
Mhm.
Where is she coming from, John? I know you could remember that. It was your personal experience.
Yes. So in alchemy, very briefly, there's a term called transmutation, which is
Uh-huh.
moving thing from one state to another. So we've heard the lead to gold. You know, the alchemists, some of the practical laboratory alchemists at one point were trying to work with metals.
Mm-hmm.
We're working with metals actually, and they
Okay.
were trying to move it from one state to a new state.
Mm-hmm.
Not always so successful, but they did discover a lot of other cool things while trying to do that. Um, but transmutation is a permanent form of transformation. In other words, you can't go back. So like a chrysalis to a butterfly. Once the butterfly is born, it doesn't go back to being a chrysalis again. It's always, so that's a transmutation. So what we do is we take these limiting beliefs, or we take these things, that these challenges, and we work with them for them, instead of becoming an obstacle, to becoming something that we can use and transmute into something that's working for us in our lives, whether that's an emotional block, or whether that's a challenge with a working piece, an actual logistical piece, or whatever that might be. So I use this modality to help folks through that. It's the same modality that I use for myself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. So,
So how do I do that? Just real quickly, it's done with a lot of imagery. It's done with a lot of working with things that you can have actual practical tool sets in the moment, not some esoteric thing where I'm sitting down and meditating for 3 hours to do. No, I need something now. Like in this moment, I'm walking into my boss's office and asking for a raise. What do I do in that 1 minute span? So these are the kind of tool sets that I hope to give back.
Great. So when you work, I am assuming that you would have worked with leaders of corporations, companies, maybe sporting teams or whoever. We have so many different genres of leadership that exist in the world today. What are some of the challenges that they tell you they face that they need to iron out? And you did mention limiting beliefs and stuff, which is basically the conditionality or a state of mind that people go through from time to time as a challenge, getting from one place to the next. But what, from a leadership perspective, what are some of the things that they are saying that they actually need to work out, iron out, so that their leadership style, whatever it is, becomes much more effective and efficient and achieves the goal and the vision of the organization that they represent?
Another great question, and that's a wide-ranging question. It is rather different for each, but I'd say overall, you touched on it. Emotional intelligence is kind of a key word right now, but long before that, in Egypt, it was called intelligence of the heart. So this is a concept that goes back close to 5,000 years, because the Egyptians thought that the heart was really the center, not the brain so much. But we know that in order to really be strong leaders, we can't be all one or the other. We can't be all heart or all head. We have to bridge these two and work with them in combination. And that not only will bring an internal peace and an internal creativity, but it opens the doorways to all kinds of possibilities, not just for the leader, because the leader is the visionary, the one who sets the tone for the various, I'll say, kingdoms that the sovereign male or female is leading. And so within that, how do I carry that vision, and how do I enroll my team to want to follow that vision? Well, it's not by using all thinking and all strategy and numbers and reports and all these kind of things. That could be part of it. And it's not all just complete, I love everything. And, it's the combination of the two. It's really that balance. And it's in alchemy, we call it the marriage of the soul and Luna, the sun and the moon, the fire and the water, those types of things. So it's really working with connecting this bridge that allowed me to see the bigger vision. And from that vision then is bred intuition and then passion. And that's what's infectious to my team, to myself, to my clients, because it's organic. I'm not putting on a mask now. I'm being authentic to me. And so that passion comes out in a very, very organic way. and it becomes infectious. So
Yeah.
that I feel is a big piece for leadership. It was for me anyway, and I see a lot of leaders still struggling with that. It's
Mm.
either um, like I said, it's a lot of either one or the other, and the ones that are really balanced, those are the ones that I want to follow for
Okay.
sure. So
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. We appreciate that, John. Now, in terms of what we see happening in the world today with regards to AI, how much of a role does that play, or not much, in terms of how you disseminate information and share the virtuous stuff that you do with people in terms of your clients and those that you are mentoring and so on?
interesting question. AI. So one of my mentors actually talked about
Uh huh.
this years ago in a conference. Not so much about AI specifically, but about
Right.
what happens when we take alchemy and separate it out, and we take it out of technology.
Ah,
Technology, alchemy was a science that incorporated everything. There was no differentiation between psychology, spirituality, um, hard sciences, physics, chemistry, astronomy, math. They were all kind of rolled together. But now we've got all these separate things. So unless, his point was, unless we started incorporating these things, technology can run rampant. And I think
mm,
we've seen that in some cases, and they're trying to. I'm reading all these things. They're trying to put the genie back in the bottle, so to speak.
wow.
But
Yeah.
it's, you know, what we can do, we can't really put the genie back. So we have to live with these types of newer technologies. So it's even, to me, it's even more important now to be connected to our authentic essence, that part of us that we may have a glimpse of, maybe we've never seen it before, and work from that place. And then we can put technology into place as tools that they are, instead of, something that's going to run everything, because
Yeah.
the creativity still comes from us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagination is key. Nothing was ever created without imagination. So
Exactly. Yeah.
working with that and keeping the technology as a tool and not as a way that it's going to, take everything over that I'm doing, and keeping your own authenticity in place. That's, to me, the only way through all this, because it's
Yeah.
only going to get more intense as we go,
As
not
we
less.
go on. Yeah. Yeah. And we have so many people coming out of Silicon Valley and all over the place with many different, touches of, hey, try this level, try that level. We're gonna create different things here. Oh, it's amazing.
Mhm.
So, folks, we have been listening to John Hernandez as he speaks about leadership, emotional intelligence, and abundance. And as we continue to do so, we just want to remind you that we appreciate your comments and your questions as this episode is going live. We will break for a short minute or maybe less, and we will be right back with John Hernandez, alchemist, trainer, coach, and multi-million-dollar success individual. Stand by. FindRadioGuest.com, the place to click to find guests to interview for free. And if you're a radio show booker, podcaster, talk show host, or television producer, then this is the place to get podcasts and radio interviews or promote your books and products as a guest expert sponsor. FindRadioGuest.com. Check it out. Yeah, so we are back with John Hernandez as we are speaking about leadership, emotional intelligence, and abundance. So, John, here's a multi-million-dollar question for you. If people or persons are having serious struggles in their personal relationships, let's say husband, wife, family, that kind of thing, How does any of what you do from the alchemy perspective able to, if applied properly, help them to resolve some of the problems, challenges, or restore family issues that they are
Mhm.
currently experiencing?
Another great question. The the work impacts all aspect of our lives.
Okay.
Business is one,
Yeah.
but it's the exact same work that impacts me as a father
Mm-hmm.
or as a husband
Mm-hmm.
in relationship.
All right.
Because really, again, it's all about what's coming from here. And
Right.
what happens is we begin to uncover more of this. We can get to see who we are and what our impact is or has been in our relationship. And that typically will open up doors of communication. But relationship also, there are two people involved or more if there's
Yeah.
children or
Yeah.
community,
Yeah.
however you want to frame it.
Right.
Um, but for relationship to be successful, what I've found, my wife and I have been together for I think next year's 30 years now. I have to
Wow.
remember.
Yeah.
And
Great.
but I had been married before then multiple times, and I was the common denominator. Go figure. Okay. So it
Wow.
really wasn't until I started doing my own internal work, and then, like I said, it's a two person piece. So now the other person also needs to do the work, and then we do the work together, and that's one of the keys, I think.
Okay.
But before that, because you really only have control over you, not someone else, is that's where you have to be again fiercely curious. What's my part in this? Where can I go from here? And what can I do to at least get in touch with that part of myself? And I guarantee you, it'll change your life. It'll make you a better parent. It'll help all those relationships uh, move forward. And even if it's a piece where maybe it's the time when there needs to be a separation, maybe you have to get the tools to do that in a good way.
Mm, yeah. Interesting. Thank you for sharing, John. I want to pull back the throttle a little bit and I just want to focus on some simple basic stuff.
Mhm.
How important is dieting and exercise? Because you mentioned three dimensions: the physical,
Yep.
psychological, the spiritual. How important is dieting and exercise in the process in terms of self care, self development, and that kind of perspective?
For me, it's critical. Um,
Okay.
and I'm not. I'm really of the Mediterranean belief, which is moderation,
Okay.
more than strict types of diets that have to be looking a certain way, whether it's vegetarian or keto or whatever the current labels are. It's really about moderation. And for me, it was about making adjustments in my diet that didn't impact my love of food. I'll just say, but I can
Yeah.
make small changes that really make a difference, and that
Uh
could be
huh.
a whole nother episode of what I've done in that.
Uh huh.
And exercise helps that bridge that we talked about, the heart and the head, the
Mm.
the emotional side, because without doing exercise, I first of all I can't even imagine. I've been exercising all my life,
Yeah.
and I do every day. I go on a long walk outside, and then I do other types of physical exercises, stretching and things. It keeps my body, which is the temple that holds my psyche and my soul, uh, in open enough to where that's not distracting me from everything else.
Right.
So physical exercise and diet is important, but it doesn't mean just to deprive or to punish or to anything like that. And again, for me, the motivation was find a way to enjoy doing these things, have fun doing these things. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to take a walk every day, a long walk. Well, that's boring, and I don't want to do that. I don't have time to do that. Well, you know, truth be told, I'll out myself right now.
Uh-huh.
I'm That's when I call clients a lot of times on my walk.
Okay.
So I'm
Yeah.
actually working and walking. I just don't like to, have something stepping in my office all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm out in nature and doing all these things and making the
Yeah.
calls. On the
Yeah.
weekends, I'm listening to folks like you, podcasts, and I'm learning.
All
You know?
right. Great. Great. Thanks for sharing, John. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, on that note, I'm going to ask you just three questions.
Sure.
And you have a choice. Maybe it's one or two in the first question, and then it's about three or four in the second question, and the last one is two. So, you're going to tell me which one you choose and why you made the choice. So, as we were talking about food and stuff, here is question number one.
Mhm.
Is it going to be ham and cheese or peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Um, I'd say for me, I'd
Uh-huh.
go peanut butter and jelly, but I'd use an organic, really good, nice peanut butter, and the same with low sugar on the spread as well.
All right. I hear you. So why would you make that choice?
Ham can have a lot of nitrates in it and additives
Mm,
to it that are
yeah,
not so
yeah,
healthy.
yeah.
Cheese isn't bad. I love cheese. If it were a good cheese, that would be good. But it holds, it holds dairy and stuff. But I don't deprive myself from cheese. There are times when I'm visiting Europe or visiting here, and I have a cheese night, and I'll eat cheese.
Yep.
But if I were to choose between the two, plus I love peanuts, so that
Okay.
was kind of an easy choice.
I hear you. I hear you. Appreciate
See, I
that.
don't have to deprive in order to eat healthy.
I get that. So question number two.
Mhm.
It's multi. It's like probably three or four. Is it the NHL, the NFL, the NBA, or is it Sunday evening baseball?
I'll tell you my truth. It's none of
Uh-huh.
the above.
Ah, wow. Is it what is your sporting inspiration or connection, if there's any?
Um, I was a soccer football player, depending on
Mm,
for
yeah.
many years as a young man, and I enjoyed that. And now at this point in my life, the sports that I do are really walking, hiking,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
um, and travel.
All right.
Travels my real passion.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Great.
and so I don't connect with a lot of sports. Although, again, truth be told, if the 49ers, it looks like they're in the playoffs, I'll probably watch them because they're my local team.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
or if the Warriors are in the playoffs, it's exciting for the playoffs. But outside of that, it's just not part of my life. Now, if you ask me
Yeah.
music a question, that would be different.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, when I saw the drum set in the back, I immediately remembered one of my mentors, although he probably is not even aware, Phil Collins.
Oh yes,
Right. Super talented guy.
phenomenal drummer,
Oh
phenomenal.
yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Great,
Yeah.
great. So,
Mhm.
final one, John.
Mhm.
We have two giants in the technology race. One is Apple, one is Microsoft. Which one would you choose?
That's an interesting one because I'm looking at you on my Mac right now.
That
So
says a
that's
lot.
yeah. I've been using Apple products for since the first Apple IIe computer came out. For
Mm,
those
yeah,
folks ancient like me that can remember that piece,
yeah, 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 yeah.
I actually do have a PC. I'm looking over a PC that I use for certain things that only work on
Hmm.
PC.
Hmm.
But I've been a Mac guy. Part of it because the music in Mac software is really good, and I'm just used to I like everything talking to each other, my phone and
Okay.
iPad, all that stuff. So
Yeah.
Mac,
There you go.
but I
Thank
use
you so much.
Excel. I don't
Yeah.
use I don't use the Mac programs. I use Excel, Microsoft for Word and Excel and all that
Right. Yeah.
on my Mac. So there you go.
Yeah.
Best of both worlds.
It's it's a combination. I hear you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, John. So I'm
Good.
just gonna put up some information here for the folks that are online to see and those who would either tune in to see or hear the podcast later. But could you tell them how they can make contact with you if anybody wants to reach out to you? They need your expertise, your advice. Just share your social handles, please.
Yeah. So Alchemy Coaching Institute.com is the best way because you can get to me. There's a Facebook link there. There's an email address on there, and I do offer a free 15 to 20-minute consultation to see if this work is right for you. I don't,
Okay.
I don't want to, I don't, I'm not one to rope you into anything. This is something that's your call. Like I said, you have to feel the call. If it feels right to you, or you're curious to know more, you can call me. We can go from there and you can see if it is the right fit or not for you.
Yeah, great, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing and such being such an engaging and wonderful guest on the program, John Hernandez. We have come to the end. And as we go, we want to remember to remind you that the three watchwords are health, happiness, and prosperity. Always seek to achieve that which is probably unreachable. And when I say that, I mean, don't think about the sky being the limit. Start beyond the sky, folks. There's no limit to what anyone can achieve or accomplish in this life if we only believe, but act upon what we believe as well. We stand to bring that principle every time we focus on getting live in the breakout room. It's about your growth, your development, and your success. So the three watchwords: health, happiness, and prosperity. Until next time, this is Andy of Andy's Personal Development in the breakout room, live with my guest, John Hernandez, saying, so long, folks. Bye. Godspeed. God bless. Shalom. Namaste. Bye for now.